Hello and welcome to Cybersecurity Lessons from the Edge. I'm Daniel Moshe with Tech Guru. We are IT for accounting firms, and I'm joined by my colleagues Sophia, Don, and Chrysanthi. It's great to have you. Welcome, Maria, Marie, Mary, Nia, Nikisha, and Will. Feel free to turn on your mic and camera if you want to. Don't have to. This is an insight, or this is a how do I say, interactive session. So it's kind of like an ask me anything. I've prepared some case studies of real live scenarios that we have encountered throughout the accounting space of cybersecurity incidents. I'll be sharing from our kind of real experiences, the things that happened, so you can learn from them. So nothing here is theory. Everything is based on what has actually happened. And my hope is that you'll take away from this conversation some actionable insights so that you can make yourself and your team more vigilant. We are recording the meeting, so we'll send it out and a recap to all attendees after the meeting. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right in. So objectives for today for you to walk away with a better understanding of the threat landscape, actionable takeaways that you can implement in your firm literally today or tomorrow. And then ideally, I'd like for you to walk away with a little better understanding of the technology and the vulnerabilities themselves and how the threat actors actually move and what their motives as well as abilities are, so that I actually want to reduce the fear and actually put you more in control of your business and your technology. And the final objective, or my hope for us today, is that you walk away with some experiences from real life scenarios. No theory here today. We'll take you through 3 case studies. First is a kind of a remote team, bring your own device scenario. Second was a total, what we call it, a total compromise, and the bigger, more complex incident I'll be discussing today with you. And the third is related to Microsoft 365. Then at the end, we'll take a recap. To help you make the most of this workshop, I'd invite you to, and I'm clicking now to open the chat. So I invite you to post questions in the chat or use the raise hand feature, and then I'll be able to see it. And Sophia will tell me if I'm missing a chat or missing a raised hand. Thank you, Sophia. And then note any key takeaways from each of the case studies. And then by the end of the workshop, please commit to just like one action that you'll take to level up your security game. My hope is that you'll walk away here with at least 1 or 2 things that you can take an action on right away. So without further ado, we'll jump right into our first case study. For each case study, I'll share a scenario, so a bit of background and context. Then I'll walk into what actually happened, the breach itself, the incident itself. Step 3, how we recovered from the incident and help the client recover. And step 4 is the learnings and takeaways from that scenario. So, as you all know, many firms, especially those that we work with, have globally distributed teams with team members in multiple countries, as well as in the United States. Some of our clients, although we're working to reduce this, and I'll cover it in the lessons learned, have or allow their staff to use their own computers to access company information. And in those cases, we're not installing, we did not install or have installed any kind of management or security software. Those are supposed to be managed and secured by the end user. In this case, because the team member was using Microsoft 365, they logged into, and the device was somewhat managed by Microsoft 365, or we at least got a little bit of alerts around it. It actually was able to give us a clue that there was a scenario occurring that needed to be addressed. So virtual team, bring your own device, and you'll see in lessons learned what we advise around that. So here's what happened. So pretty innocuous. Somebody went to a website, or maybe a bit of a shady website for downloading software, wanted to download some video editing software on their computer. And again, it was their own personal computer, and that was for personal use, but they were using it also for work purposes. They installed what they thought was a video editing software, but lo and behold, that software unfortunately was also had attached to it a password scraping tool. A password scraping tool looks at all active logins and attempts to steal the what's called a token. That is what authorizes you to log into that website. It was successful in doing that. Fortunately, as I'd mentioned, we had the device connected to Microsoft 365, and our admins received an alert that a password scraping software was installed on that computer and was actively doing that. Fortunately, we were able to respond pretty quickly, and I'll explain that in a moment. And the only real notable fallout was that the person's LinkedIn account was vandalized by the threat actors. I use the threat actor term to mean whoever these people are, individuals are, who are, attempting to gain, steal, or otherwise benefit from accessing information that otherwise they don't or wouldn't or shouldn't have access to. So that is what happened and how it happened. So again, just wanted to download a video editing software. Lo and behold, ended up installing a password stealing software at the same time. Easy to do, can happen to anyone. So here's what we did for containment and recovery. We immediately, when we were alerted to this scenario, blocked all logins, active logins that the user had active, and actually locked them out of Microsoft 365 and all of those platforms. We then proceeded to do a password reset, wiped the machine before we gathered logs, then wiped the machine, make sure that that software had been, totally removed. And then we, in looking at the logs and all the platforms, worked to understand what had been accessed, if anything, and address those, and then slowly regained or reopened access to those services. So this is a pretty, pretty narrow scope compromise. Only the person's LinkedIn account was compromised, but as you can imagine, anything that they were logged into could potentially have been compromised. Thankfully, for the quick actions of our admins, we were able to contain this one before it got the threat actors got to do any more activity. So lessons learned from case one is that number one, again, there's actually a lot of things to be take away from this. But one thing we do recommend is I'll start with this: the bring your own device arrangement, where the computer is being used for both personal and work purposes, is strongly not recommended. If you can think about it, if you've got on the same computer personal use, video editing, photo, email, and everything else that you use a personal computer for, and you've got business use, where you're logging into QuickBooks and other financial software, company resources, company email, it's just very easy for those things, first and foremost, to become commingled. And if there is ever a scenario where we need to remove or resolve a threat or an incident, now it's like our options are much more limited because we don't either have control over that device or have the visibility to what's going on with it. So ideally, we strongly recommend that each person in your organization uses a company-owned computer that has antivirus software on it and the management software on it that reduces the level of permissions and privileges and allows us to monitor and receive alerts if there is anything going on in that computer. If you wish to use a bring your own device policy, what that means is the person provides a computer. We just ask that they assign a bring your own device policy, which agrees that the management software be installed. Computer will not be dual purpose, will be used only for company purposes. It has our security software on it. And if ever occurs that we need to wipe that computer, we have the ability to do so, promptly. So that's if you want to continue doing a bring your own device approach. Most of our clients are not doing this anymore. They are switching to either a company owned or again, single purpose computer. Once you do provide that company computer, bullet one is lock down the computers so only authorized software can be installed. And so with that, and that is just a good best practice for frankly everybody, is to have reduced permissions on your computer or use a standard account. Don't use an account with administrative privileges for everyday computing purposes to reduce the likelihood that some software can even be installed without admin or management approval. So I kind of covered the personal use of computers for company purposes, obtaining management and IT approval before installing software. This is an easy one. Just if you're not sure if something's safe, you can always send a link or have your IT admin or management take a look at the software you want to install just to make sure it's totally legit. My kids have iPhones. When they want to install an app from the App Store, I've got the permission set up so they send it to me for approval. I take a look and see if that application is something I want my kids even to have access to, and then approve it. It works much the same way. And again, because you're in this scenario where you've got a separate computer for work and a separate computer for personal, your personal computer, do what you wish. On the work computer, we must not install any software that's not approved. And also just to make sure that it doesn't conflict with other software on the system that's used for work purposes. Final takeaway, and start thinking about your questions, post your questions. I know there's some burning questions out there. Marie, you've got a question. I know you do. Mary, Will, I know you've got a question. Post your questions in the chat or raise your hand, and we can address those. Be thinking about those, and I'll start as I wrap up this lessons learned from case one. The last thing is if you do, and you must, install some piece of software, I generally recommend leverage the Microsoft store, app store to purchase software or obtain software, and try to avoid downloading software from websites and things like that. You know that you're getting something that's been vetted and is going to be safe if you're getting it from the Microsoft store. And if ever you need to get some software from any other website or source, just let us, check with your IT provider, or if you're a tech career client, just let us know. All right, so that's case one, pretty cut and dry. Let's move on to case two. Hopefully some good learnings or takeaways here for you. I'll just say one last thing here. Even with multi-factor authentication enabled, the way that these password scraper tools work is they're able to actually bypass multi-factor, because they take the active login that's in place, that's quote unquote that live session, and actually activate that live session on their own device. So again, I'm going to talk about multi-factor authentication in the next case, but in this one, just installing software on your computer, you're opening two threat actors, all of the open sessions that you have on your computer at any given time, including Microsoft 365, maybe Intuit, maybe any other kind of software. If you're logged into it, they can use this password scraper to gain access to that live session. All right, so that is case one. All right, case two. So again, very prototypical kind of accounting firm, a hybrid remote team. They have an office, they have a server in the cloud. They have people who work from home. They have people who work in the office. Some critical notes I will mention here. MFA, which stands for multi-factor authentication, was not enforced. So there was inconsistent use of multi-factor authentication. And then they had, like I said, a cloud and server-based environment and a VPN set up between their office and their server environment, which stands for a virtual private network. You'll see how that comes into play in a few minutes here. So here's what actually happened. And this is pretty common in the world of cybersecurity, is that initial access was gained to one computer with a malicious link and what's called malware payload. So piece of software that was installed on a computer, just one computer in the office, where the threat actor obtained access to that machine, had full admin access to that machine using this software. And then nothing happened. Nobody knew anything was going on. It was quiet. It was dormant for weeks. We only realized that this was the case after looking at logs and doing a thorough retrospective on what occurred. So they gained access and were quietly sitting there. And what we learned from about this is actually a common strategy. There would be an initial hacking group that will gain initial access. That's kind of their specialty. And then they will put that on the dark web and say, hey, everybody, we've got a foothold, in something. We don't really know what's going, what it is, but we've got a foothold somewhere. Who wants to take it from here? So it sat there for several weeks. Nothing really happened with it. And then things started to happen. They leveraged the access from that one computer to gain access to other computers on the local network and use what's called a virtual private network to gain access directly to the server and then gain administrative access to the server. So what they were then able to do was export hundreds of gigabytes of sensitive data to the threat actors' servers. And so again, not initially anything, they did not make their awareness known or whereabouts known or activity known. All of this was kind of done behind the scenes. And was done in a slow enough way that it didn't look like unusual activity. But they downloaded a lot of information from users' downloads folders and from the server itself. Fortunately, this organization or this firm was using mostly browser-based software. So most of the data was not accessible to these to the threat actors in this case, but there was still lots of information and downloads saved in the downloads folder, which they exported and copied, and there was some information saved on the server, which they exported and copied. So they had in their hands hundreds of gigabytes of confidential, sensitive information, and then they made their move. They made their action. They went onto one of the computers in the office and started messaging team members in the office from each other's accounts, saying like, we're in complete control, we're this hacking group, and this is the ransom that we want. And if you want, and if you go to the authorities, this and this will happen, all these threats. And so at that point, of course, we got involved, and then insurance, lawyers, forensics experts, threat negotiators, threat communication experts got involved and actually got escalated, to that level because they're dealing with a full-blown, cyber incident in this case where information had already been taken. So they demanded hundreds of thousands of dollars in the form of Bitcoin. The other interesting thing that they did was they used some sort of bot to subscribe, at least the owner, maybe others in the office, to thousands, if not tens of thousands, of email lists. And so what happened was, and this is, I don't know why they did this, but I think just to assert their control and make it seem extra chaotic. So the mailbox of the owner of the company, the firm, was actually just blasted with email, thousands and thousands of emails every day from all these subscriptions that were just like free, emails. And it would take, days to unsubscribe from all of these things. So we don't really know exactly why they did that other than just kind of a shock and awe. Theoretically, anybody could do that to anybody. You can subscribe, use a bot to subscribe anybody to an email newsletter. But in this case, it created extra chaos and kind of made things a little bit even more hard to communicate. It was difficult to communicate via email because the person's inbox was just total mess. So that's a little bit about what happened and how it happened. And so again, my intention here is not to scare you, but just to understand like the forensics or the ways that that threat actors operate, the way they move, the way they gain access to systems. We call that lateral movement. And there's a ton of lessons learned here, and I'll get to those in a few minutes. But I'll walk through kind of what the recovery looked like and the containment, and then get into lessons learned. So initially, we disconnected everything from the network, kind of shut everything down, deleted the VPN, and worked to use available tools at our disposal to remove the software that they were using to remotely control and remotely gain access to the servers and the computers. And in fact, it was they had some very I don't know what the word is, very sophisticated techniques they used. It was difficult to remove all of their hooks that they had into the systems. Ultimately, we did get everything removed. We did get the environment secured, but then we just decided finally to actually wipe and replace, computers. Nowadays, with the detection and removal tools, that isn't really necessary. But this client had some bring your own device computers, and it was a little bit scattered. And so it just made more sense to just simplify and lock down everything, and kind of start fresh with some new computers and everything company owned, managed, and secured, so that we're kind of in complete control of the environment. So we also again removed that VPN and locked everything down, upgraded the level of monitoring, and upgraded to managed threat detection and response security software, and then did also deploy and enforce multi-factor authentication for everything. And the interesting thing about that is multi-factor authentication kind of act somewhat like a tripwire for these kind of activities. And what I mean by that is if there's somebody trying to gain unauthorized access to either a piece of software or your computer, boom, it initiates the Duo or the Microsoft notification that, hey, are you trying to log into this? So the one thing that there is I think to be one lesson to take away from this is to be very vigilant that if you didn't authorize a login or didn't try to log in and you see a Duo push or you see a Microsoft notification, whatever you do, don't approve it unless you know for sure it was you, or somebody is, somebody you've given permission to log in. Just so you know, like your software vendor, tech guru, IT provider is never going to call you and say, hey, I sent a push notification. I need access to this account. Can you please approve it? No. As your IT provider, as your systems admin, your IT provider has a different way of accessing your Microsoft environment and doesn't need you to send a push notification for us to be able to administer it for you. So if Microsoft never calls really anybody. Microsoft or Dell or whoever is calling you or appears to be calling you, do not engage, do not respond. Text messages are another common thing where you get 6-digit codes. If anybody's asking you for a 6-digit code, do not give it to them. They are potentially going to gain or attempt to gain access to your account, to your accounts. So containment recovery was a pretty rapid process we did over the course of a weekend and then the following weeks to get their business up. We got the business up and running within a couple of days. Over the course of a weekend, back on Monday, they were back to business. But as you can imagine, with something like this, it took there's a lot that goes into play with regard to negotiating and dealing with the threat actors, and then getting to the point where that information was safe and secure. What they were threatening to do is if the ransom wasn't paid, they were going to publish that information on a public website. So as you can imagine, social security numbers, tax returns, W-2s, posted on a public website that anybody could download is what they were threatening. Ultimately, insurance negotiated with them a settlement and did actually end up paying some ransom to the threat actors, which kind of is shocking to me. But it's an unfortunate reality with how this works. It was the lowest risk approach to resolve this with with the threat actors. So, and believe it or not, there is a professional code in that world, and if you pay it, they didn't post it. They provided what as best they can proof of deletion, that they deleted the data from their systems. And then that was over, and then it was a matter of doing hiring another firm to do what's called data scraping, go through all the data that was stolen, and then contact those involved, and then get the necessary authorities involved, get the necessary users notified, and then that letter that I don't know how many of those letters I've gotten over the years of that there's been a data breach, and I'm going to get a year or whatever of credit monitoring. I probably have a lifetime of credit monitoring at this point. I don't know about you. Anyway, so there's actually a company that handles all of that aspect of it as well. So while this could have been a business, frankly, a business ending scenario, again, due to kind of rapid response and quick recovery, we were able to contain the threat, quickly get the business back up and running, and then work with the appropriate experts to handle all the aspects of this. So I'm going to go into lessons learned. There are so many, and I tried to just kind of summarize this. And I see, Marie, that you posted a couple questions, and I'll get to those in just a moment. I love that you're posting some questions here. Thank you. So first thing first, had the very first machine been locked down without admin privileges, it could have been stopped right there, or even not clicking on that link or not clicking on that email, it would have stopped right there. But in fact, after working through this incident, we've some dramatically upgraded a lot of our approaches to how we work with, and by better understanding what happens, how they operate, we're able to detect and block using a layered approach to security. A lot of times you hear that kind of layered approach. So if even one thing is breached, we're able to catch it at the next one. The other thing we do is we've eliminated or working towards eliminating the few remaining what are called VPNs that are consistently connected. So there's two types of VPNs. There's a VPN that's your computer and it's you connecting to a remote network or a remote server. And there's this other type of VPN, which is a network connected to a network and it's always on. We're rapidly working to remove those. They're not inherently insecure, but they can be used for lateral movement. It just makes it easier for threat actors than we would like for it to be to bounce from one network to another or one network to a server. Another kind of unexpected one was thinking about the downloads folder. So think about your downloads folder, you're downloading, maybe tax return information, source working papers, and so forth. And they all sit in that downloads folder and then you upload them somewhere else, you process them and so forth. But then they just keep sitting in that downloads folder. So one thing we do recommend is that all of our clients delete their downloads folder every week. Generally, there's nothing in there. It's been moved, it's been refiled, it's been uploaded, it's been processed. Usually information in the downloads folder, the longer the information sits there, the more information that sits there, the increased attack surface you have, and the more potential data that can be stolen. So that's why we recommend deleting that weekly and being aware of kind of what's being downloaded to there. The other thing that would have stopped this attack in its tracks would have been MFA, multi-factor authentication on everything, including computers. So it really isn't enough to just have MFA on Microsoft 365 and all of your logins. It really needs to be on your computer. It's not just for servers anymore. So when you log into your computer, you get prompt to push for a push notification and then approve it. And then another interesting thing is that happened here and helped the threat actors move a little bit more easily, that there were some user accounts on their servers that were disabled but had not been deleted. So we recommend that you can certainly still disable accounts, but after 30 days, go ahead and go delete those accounts if it doesn't look like you need them anymore. It was relatively easy for them to re-enable accounts and use existing accounts that had elevated privileges to access information and move data around. So I just wanted to go talk to your IT provider if you have or add to your quarterly cybersecurity audit or review is do a thorough analysis and go through the list of the logins and accounts that exist on each and every platform that you use, and delete the ones that you don't need or and won't need any longer. So these are just a couple of the takeaways that we got from this. There's a lot of other things behind the scenes that we've been incorporating that have helped us make our client systems more resilient. But this was a very interesting, complex case with daily meetings with the experts, and we're very involved with the whole process. So I'm going to swing over to some questions that Marie posted. If you want, you can click on the Q&A panel. Feel free to add some questions there, or you can put them in the chat. Marie asked, what's the step-by-step process to get software approved and installed on a company managed device? So Marie, you happen to work with TechGuru, so we're super grateful, glad to have you here. All that you need to do is send in an email to support@techguruit.com and let us know what software you would like to add to your computer or to your device. We'll review it and let you know if that's approved. For those of you not currently a TechGuru client, would imagine that your IT provider have some similar, a way of working with them, and encourage you to do that. Marie asks, what about installing extensions for web browsers? Same thing applies. Please check with us before installing them. Web browser extensions do not usually require administrative privileges to install, but they can have wide the ability to do anything with anything you're working on in a browser, accessing the information that you can see. They can cause pop-ups. They can steal information. Generally speaking, extensions from the Chrome store are fairly well vetted. I would still ask that you check with us so that we can approve it, or check with your IT provider to approve it. Also, just to make sure it doesn't conflict with anything that you might already be using. And Marie asks, were there any missed alerts, ignored signs, or staff actions that allowed the attack to remain undetected for weeks? It's a great question. In this case, there actually were a couple of things that, I think staff kind of picked up on. Something was a little bit odd or a little bit weird, but it wasn't alarming enough to raise a concern to involve a deep dive research and analysis into what was going on. We have now significantly upgraded our alerting mechanisms as a result of this, and from other things that we've learned, and just implementing best practices, so that if something like this did occur at this point, we would have been able to identify it much sooner. But yeah, generally there was, I think, a couple of maybe emails or messages that showed up on the computer. I think one was even we're notified of it, but it looked just like a one-off thing, and didn't alert us to the client to that anything was potentially amiss. They are really good at covering their tracks also, generally, and take a lot of care in using evasive maneuvers, deleting. We found a lot of deleted logs, for example. So it really was difficult to, once they're in, they kind of have access and control to everything, and make it difficult for us to see what's going on. Great questions, Maria. If you have follow-up questions, just let me know.
Sorry, Daniel. We also have a question from Will.
Yep, I got it.
Okay,
awesome. Thanks, Sophia. All right, so Will asks, if a computer login doesn't have admin install rights, can malware still be installed, initiated based on a user clicking on a link? So it's a good question, Will. Generally, if they don't have admin rights, what happens when a link is clicked and something is attempting to install? It'll prompt and say, "Hey, I need admin password to run this software." We have seen in the wild that there are some types of malware, whether it's integrate, and you'll see actually this in the next case. It doesn't even have to be installed on the computer. It can be a plugin or an add-on or an integration. It doesn't even require admin rights. So that is not a sort of an end-all be-all, but it certainly does reduce the risk, especially from that first case that I shared of computer being compromised. And again, once they have access to it, then they're trying to see, well, what can I get access to? What can I remove? What can I gain access to? But no, it doesn't. Some malware does not need admin rights and can be initiated by clicking on a link. Generally, there's something you have to hit approve or yes or type an admin password. But still, even just there are still some threats out there known as 0-day threats where Microsoft hasn't yet patched it. It's still not known in the security community where you can open up the door to to a threat actor unwittingly. So it is really important to dissect and understand the URL, know what you're clicking on, know if it's from a trusted source, which is why we send to our clients fake phishing emails, actually every so often. In fact, one was so good yesterday, I clicked on it. It was FedEx tracking information. I was just so good, I clicked on it. So it can happen to anybody. And it's so it's important why we just remain vigilant. And if something doesn't look quite right, then try not to click on it. So, but it's hard. It's really hard to know, and not everybody's perfect, which is why we take that layered approach. Cool. I'm going to move on to step 3 or case 3, and we will have a few minutes for Q&A at the end, and then we'll close. So if you're not posted your question yet, then kind of think about what you'd like to ask. We have a couple minutes at the end as well. Case 3. So again, another kind of a 10-person firm, hybrid remote. Multi-factor was not fully enforced for 365. Most of the team had it. Not this one user, unfortunately, as you'll learn in a moment. This environment or this firm had a totally browser-based software. They had no server. And they have a hybrid remote and including a global team. Again, a common theme that we talk about with a lot of the firms that we work with is how do we secure people that are working, overseas, and so that's something that we help our clients with, and actually I'll be touching on some of those in this case. So here's what happened. So a user went to a website that appeared to be that required a Microsoft 365 login. The website, however, was not a real Microsoft website. It was made by a threat actor for the purpose of collecting usernames and passwords. So where you will see these most often is you'll get an email that says, oh, so-and-so has shared with you an invoice, or so-and-so has sent you an attachment, so-and-so has sent you an agreement to sign, so-and-so has shared a file with you. Okay, most often they're from people you don't recognize. We actually block 99% of these types of emails for our clients using Microsoft 365's email filtering tools, but still 1 or 2 or 3 can still get through here and there. And they look legit. They have the Microsoft logo. It has something interesting like, oh, here's an invoice, or here's a purchase order. Like, oh, I want to see a purchase order. I want to see an invoice. So it kind of like takes over your brain and your curiosity that has the best of you. Okay. And so forget about all your training, all the things that your IT people have said, and you click on the link. So hopefully you think about it, you stop there and you're like, wait a second, this doesn't look quite right. But now with AI tools, these emails and these fake websites are looking more and more like the real thing. So anyway, the user went to that website and typed in their Microsoft 365 username and password, which was then of course it went to like a page not found or some other error message, right? But the user didn't know anything better of it. Like, okay, whatever, didn't work. Can't, just close it. So we were alerted pretty quickly by the user because they started seeing some weird emails and some weird bounced emails in their inbox. and let us know that it looked like their mailbox had been compromised. So here's how it went down. The threat actor took those credentials and again, it can be sometimes pretty quickly. Sometimes they won't get to it till, the next day. Who knows what part of the world they're in. Some of them automate the whole thing. There's scripts behind the scenes that happen, so it happens relatively quickly. It's sometimes hard to tell how long it's going to be before they take action. Regardless, they obtained access to the user's Microsoft 365 account and focused mostly on the mailbox. But nowadays, your Microsoft 365 account has access to SharePoint, has access to OneDrive. It's kind of your gateway to your whole, computing environment. So they gained access to that, and then they immediately set up some rules, and they actually made it a copy of the mailbox, and they installed 2 Microsoft 365 what are called apps that allowed them to download the contents of the mailbox and remotely execute commands on that using that Microsoft 365 account. And that's what allowed this threat actor to gain full access to the mailbox, which they then used to send fraudulent emails to the person's contacts, to that user's contacts, which mostly just had more of those links to steal more 365 credentials. Although we've seen attacks in the past where they actually send fraudulent invoices or they send other kind of information to extract, actually to achieve financial gain. In this case, they were just working to obtain and steal more Microsoft 365 credentials. So they were using that. And the reason that works well is because of what I just said earlier. So if Will is in my contact list and Will knows me and I send an email to Will and it looks legitimate, Will is a whole lot more likely to click on that. And it's also a lot more likely to get through spam filters because I'm emailing Will from my account. And Will's going to be more likely to click on that link, divulge his 365. So it's like almost like a bit of a worm, right? Where so it starts with one and then it kind of spiders out. So once that was detected, we were contacted and got into the person's account. And now I'll kind of walk through the steps we took to contain and recover from the situation. By the way, we always do a detailed incident retrospective, and that's part of our SOC 2 requirement anyway. And just go through it in a great amount of detail, all the lessons learned, and all the efforts that we're going to take to address this and prevent this in the future. So immediately we blocked and reset all sessions and logged out of all sessions. And then we enforced MFA for that user and actually all the rest of the users as well at the same time. And then we did an audit and found that there were a few other clients of ours that had a few unenforced multi-factor, and we work with them actually to enforce it as well. So we don't apply what we learned to just this scenario. We actually applied it to all of our clients. We went ahead and reviewed the logs, identified what actions were taken. We notified our client and worked closely with the client to communicate to those who had received emails from this user, advising them not to click on those links and that the issue had been addressed. We found those apps that had been installed, we removed them and removed that permission from this client and from a couple other clients that had it. And then we advise our client to have increased vigilance because the information in that user's mailbox had been fully downloaded. So as you can imagine, there's all kinds of internal notes and documents, and that information could be used as information to, attempt another type of more sophisticated attack with the benefit of having that sort of inside scoop, that inside information. And then we allowed we got everybody enabled with MFA, allowed everybody back in, and then did kind of a post-incident monitoring. So the lessons learned from this one were just be wary of, while this person did not install these 365 applications, it still kind of brings a great point to be wary of installing any app inside of or integrating any of your existing web apps, especially if they're connecting to sensitive tools and software. If you're ever not sure, contact your technology guru and ask if that application, again, the user did not install this application, the threat actor did. The obvious one here is enable multi-factor authentication and don't click on links. So I already had that previously, so I had to find some other ones, other lessons learned here. And then the last thing is remove and disable any unnecessary permissions inside of those applications, making sure that nobody has access that is beyond what is absolutely necessary to do their roles. So that was one of the things that we incorporated from this one. But otherwise, remain vigilant. And if you notice any kind of unusual behavior, emails, pattern of bounced emails coming back to you, just again, know the rules that the threat actor set up on this user's mailbox actually automatically filtered those replies to like another folder too. So they actually do attempt to cover their tracks and make it hard to detect what was happening. So yeah, that's case number 3. I'm checking the Q&A. No other Q&A listed here. I'm gonna just ask if any of my colleagues have any thoughts or comments or questions or remarks. Sophia or Don, Santhi, and then I'll invite anybody else on the call here to either post or just raise your hand and ask any questions. I hope again from sharing real life scenarios that we were actually involved in, that you'll see that a bit of a better understanding of why we do some of the things that we do, and have taken some of the positions we have on how we approach security. It's from these actual real life scenarios. Nikisha says, always good to check the deleted folder as well. Make sure any suspicious emails that have been deleted without you knowing. Absolutely. They can just delete them out of the deleted folder as well. So keep that in mind. One thing that was handy in this case too, we had a backup of the user's mailbox, so we were able to restore as needed from that as well. Sophia, Don, Santhi, any questions, thoughts, comments? No? Cool. Any of our guests? Go ahead, Sophia.
I would ask if, apart from this, like good practices, if there's a specific AI tool right now that you can think of that can help people better prepare for this?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I did mention earlier how, AI is actually, it's a great, amazing tool, time-saving, but also can be used against us, right? So if we can use ChatGPT, so can these, threat actors, and they're going to use it in ways that are going to help further their goals and objectives. In terms of like AI tools, believe it or not, they're actually already at work behind the scenes to detect these threats. So one of the tools that we use on all of our clients' computers is called Sentinel-1. It is a managed threat detection software. It is using AI behind the scenes to identify patterns, or what are called heuristics, of behavior or actions that threat actors might make, so that it's helping to detect and then alerts humans when necessary to get involved, and that includes us, to identify and jump in. Other than that, I also just recommend, if ever you have a question or a thought, and I said, hey, contact your IT, you can also chat with ChatGPT. Remember, AI or your large language model of choice. AI tools can still hallucinate and may not give you they're always going to give you an answer. It just may not be the right answer or a real answer. But if ever you're curious about how you can level up your security profile, it's always a good conversation to have with ChatGPT as well. Beyond that, no other AI specific tools. Just continue to be vigilant and exercise a healthy amount of wariness, and I like to call it skepticism about pretty much everything. And then the other thing I always like to add, and actually I'll kind of put this in some of my kind of closing remarks here, is as a advisor to your clients, you're one of the only people, again, handling very, very, very sensitive and probably the most sensitive, if not the most confidential information of your clients. I hope that you'll actually share some of these ideas and lessons with your clients, encourage them to enroll in multi-factor authentication, and remind them to share information in a secure way, and be wary of those things that are just so common out there. One of the conversations we've had with a client recently is like, hey, we actually send links to our clients to upload files to us. How do they know that it's legitimate? And versus, are we training them to do bad habits? And I said, yeah, you kind of are, actually. And so that's where I suggest using like secure client portals, whether through your practice management software, where the client goes to a URL, they're familiar with that URL, they log into that URL, and are using that as a way to send information and receive information, or they know that. And you do this during your intake, you educate your clients on, hey, when I'm communicating with you, it's always going to come from share file. It's always going to come from this piece of software. Never will you find that I'm sending you a file from Microsoft 365, or I'm never going to be sending you a file from this. And if it is the case that I might be doing there something different, that's a departure from our standard protocol, I'm going to communicate and call you and let you know in advance. Another just like random security thought is be sure to like authenticate something unusual via alternate means. And so then the initial mode of communication. So if you get something from a client, it looks legitimate, don't just reply back to that email and say, hey, is this real? Send them a text, make a phone call, and really authenticate them. That we're talking to a real person. Because if somebody has gained access to their email account or mailbox, then it's that same threat actor can just as easily reply to your email as well. Nikisha says, if you notice or feel like anything is off, call your provider, do a check. Sometimes it may be nothing, but on occasion it's something you have detected it early. Absolutely. And with regards to detecting things early, again, the same thing with Duo, multi-factor, or same thing with everything else. It's like we have to hit approve all the time, but there's that one time when someone's going to try to log into your account. That's the time you don't click on it. That's going to be where it makes all that other hassle or time spent, worthwhile. So Nikisha, as far as our onboarding process, we reiterate why we use our practice management software and press strongly why they should use it exclusively to send documents to us, especially stuff with personally identifiable information. Yes, thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, so I just think that you play a really important role in your clients' lives of helping them maintain their security of their confidential information. So just kind of close here with a few thoughts. Raise hand if you have any other last questions here. Otherwise I'm going to start to wrap it up. Please use a password management tool if you're not already. LastPass, again, they've had some incidents out there, and it's not perfect. Nothing is, but it's better than nothing, and it's our favorite tool. MFA for everything. So when you log in and create an account on a new service, or you onboard a new employee, and this is how we do it, we literally sit there and enroll them in multi-factor on their first day with them on live. And they don't do anything else. We're like, okay, we're the first people you meet with. We enroll you in everything. We've been getting a lot of questions about passkeys. What a passkey is, it's a replacement for a password. And so so if you think about a password, it's something and that nobody else knows, and you type it in. What a passkey is, it's something you have that nobody else has. And it's saving that as almost like a saved password on your computer. So when you create a passkey, it either uses biometrics, fingerprint, face scan, or a PIN to create that passkey, a one-time passkey. It's then saved in the browser or saved on the computer or saved on your phone. And it is just as secure as a password. In fact, I think it's better than a password because it's harder to use you can't just take a passkey and guess the passkey. It doesn't work that way, but you can guess a password. So we're big fans of passkeys. So I encourage you to, and there's not a lot of sites that are offering them yet. I know Intuit, I don't think Zero. I know some vendors are doing this already. We're not doing them yet with Microsoft 365. So we definitely are on board with doing passkeys, and I encourage you to do some testing. They work, and they are a big step in the right direction of a passwordless future. And passwords are just so inhuman. They just don't, I don't know, like the human brain isn't designed to remember a bunch of different passwords. So then you end up just saving what I do, make randomly generated passwords in LastPass, which is almost the same thing as a passkey anyway, right? So I make a randomly generated password for every site that I use, save it in LastPass, and then use that to log in to, unique sites. And then so Will asks, how's a 4-digit passkey better than a longer password? So Will, it's a good question. So the passkey is actually a combination of information about your computer and the browser, and it's like an encrypted token, and you just use the not passkey, but what do you call it? 4-digit pin. You just use that pin to just kind of generally create it, but then it's housed on your computer, and it can't be taken, and it can't be recreated with a passkey, with a different pin, if that makes sense. So it's kind of generated and sticks only to your computer. So that answers your question there. Cool. So recap next steps. So whether it's, reviewing your written information security plan, enrolling your team in cybersecurity awareness training, scheduling a conversation with us if you like to go a little further. Don or Sophia would be great contacts to get you started discussing with us security and remote teams. Just pick one thing, commit to it, and let's go make the world a little bit more safe and secure. So thank you all for joining us for today. That's what I have for you. Stick around if anyone has any questions, and we'll send the recording out so you can share with your teams if you wish. But I wish you all a safe and secure rest of the week. And thanks again for joining us. Thank you, Nikisha. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Will. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks, David. Thank you, Sophia, Don, Santhi. Thanks, Paul. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.